Nobody saw this coming. The $2 million gift that changed Alex Eala's life forever. Nobody saw it coming. Not the journalists with their courtside press passes. Not the seasoned coaches who had watched thousands of tournaments blur into one. Not even the players who had spent years grinding through the WTA circuit, learning to brace for the unexpected. One ordinary afternoon in Rome changed everything. It started with a sleek black motorcade pulling up outside the Foro Italico like it owned the place. A 19-year-old from Manila, a Saudi prince with billions behind him. Rafael Nadal standing nearby with an expression that launched 1,000 arguments online. And $2 million sitting in the middle of it all like a loaded question nobody was brave enough to answer first. This is not just a tennis story. This is about what happens when raw, hard-earned talent finally collides with extraordinary recognition, and the entire world suddenly has an opinion about whether she deserved it. But before we get to the motorcade, before the announcement, before the internet exploded, you need to understand who Alex Eala actually is. Because that context is everything. The grind that built her Alexandra Eala was never handed anything. Born in Manila to a country of over 100 million passionate fans, she grew up carrying a dream that felt far too big for the reality around her. Filipino tennis had almost no global infrastructure, no deep funding, and none of the institutional support that players from traditional powerhouses take for granted. What she had instead was hunger, genuine, burning hunger. She earned her way to the Rafael Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain. The academy doesn't coddle talent. You earn your place every single morning. While other teenagers lived normal lives, parties, school, social media, Alex was studying footwork until her legs ached, breaking down match footage for hours, and conditioning her mind to stay locked in during the exact moments when pressure tries to break you. The WTA Tour is merciless. It chews up promising juniors and often spits them out with permanent scars. Many arrive with bright futures and leave broken. Alex didn't just survive. She evolved. By 2025, her game had become complete. Surprising power from her frame, surgical precision that dismantled patient defenders, and an emotional composure rare for someone so young. She was no longer a prospect. She had become a genuine threat. Opponents now prepared specifically for her. Rome was supposed to be another stepping stone. Ranking points, momentum, quiet progress on the clay she was still learning to master. Nobody expected it to become a global spectacle. The day power arrived on an otherwise ordinary afternoon at the Foro Italico, with the Mediterranean spring sun warming the terracotta clay. Everything shifted. A black motorcade arrived. Security multiplied. Whispers cascaded through the media center like electricity. Something significant had entered the building, and the tournament's rhythm quietly rearranged itself around it. Prince Abdullah, a member of the Saudi royal family with deep and growing investments in global sport, had come. Saudi Arabia had already made its mark on Formula One, golf, boxing, football, and more. Tennis was the final major frontier. He didn't ask for a marquee match or the final. He specifically requested to watch Alex Eala's practice session. For 40 minutes, he observed in focused silence, unreadable, evaluating. When the session ended, a member of his delegation approached her team with a direct message. The prince wanted a private meeting. The announcement that stopped tennis, the meeting was discreet. Small, controlled, no recordings. What was discussed stayed private. But what emerged the next day left nothing to the imagination. During a tournament reception, through a representative, Prince Abdullah publicly committed $2 million of his personal funds to support Alex Eala's career, elite training resources, international travel infrastructure, coaching, and a dedicated performance team. Not through a faceless foundation. Not as a standard sponsorship. As a direct, personal gesture. The room fell into stunned silence, then exploded. Journalists scrambled. Players exchanged loaded glances. Genuine happiness, mixed with the instinctive competitive math every athlete does. Officials searched for protocol that didn't exist. And at the center stood 19-year-old Alex Eala, composed, gracious, visibly moved but in control. She thanked the prince with sincere warmth, honored the Philippines, and spoke repeatedly about responsibility, a word she would return to again and again. Within hours, the story went nuclear. The world reacts. Filipino fans erupted in celebration. Social media in the Philippines trended with overwhelming pride. Athletes from across sports sent congratulations, recognizing the historic weight of a young Southeast Asian woman receiving this level of backing. But the joy was met with sharp criticism. Some called it genuine investment in talent. Others saw calculated soft power. Debates raged. Was this empowering or compromising? Should female athletes face different scrutiny than male stars who accept massive deals? Questions about independence, motivation, and the future of funding filled timelines. And then Rafael Nadal appeared in the frame. The Spanish legend, whose mere presence commands reverence. Watch the moment. Cameras captured his subtle reaction, a brief pause, an unreadable expression that the internet dissected for days. Nadal, the ultimate symbol of discipline and overcoming odds, stood as a silent witness to this new chapter. What it all really meant, it was never just about the $2 million. It was about a young woman from a tennis nation long considered peripheral suddenly receiving world-class resources at the highest level. It forced an uncomfortable question. In a sport where extraordinary talent from smaller nations still faces massive barriers, who is responsible for building the bridges? Institutions, governments, private patrons, or the athletes themselves through relentless effort, one day at a time? Alex Eala gave that conversation something it often lacks: a real, grounded, dignified human being at the center who refused to be reduced to a symbol. She stayed focused, gracious, and committed to representing her country with pride. Whether this extraordinary gesture becomes the catalyst for major titles or simply one remarkable boost in a long career remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: in the spring of 2025 at the Foro Italico, everything accelerated. Rome had seen empires rise and fall for millennia, but few moments in modern sports have sparked as much inspiration, pride, debate, and global attention as this one. The tennis world is watching. The Philippines is cheering louder than ever. And Alex Eala's journey has officially entered a bold new dimension. The conversation is far from over. What do you think? Was this a beautiful moment of recognition, or does it raise complicated questions about patronage in women's sports? Drop your thoughts below. The story is still unfolding. Nobody saw this coming. The $2 million gift that changed Alex Eala's life forever. Nobody saw it coming. Not the journalists with their courtside press passes. Not the seasoned coaches who had watched 1,000 tournaments blur into one. Not even the players who had spent years grinding through the WTA circuit, learning to brace for the unexpected. One ordinary afternoon in Rome changed everything. It started with a sleek black motorcade pulling up outside the Foro Italico like it owned the place. A 19-year-old from Manila, a Saudi prince with billions behind him, Rafael Nadal standing nearby with an expression that launched 1,000 arguments. And $2 million sitting in the middle of it all like a loaded question nobody was brave enough to answer first. This is not just a tennis story. This is about what happens when extraordinary talent finally meets extraordinary recognition, and the entire world suddenly has an opinion about whether she deserved it. The detail that revealed everything. That detail matters more than most people gave it credit for at first. You don't cross continents to watch someone practice unless your interest is serious, studied, and rooted in something far deeper than casual appreciation. Prince Abdullah watched Alex Eala's practice session for a full 40 minutes. He spoke to almost nobody. His expression remained completely unreadable, the quiet, focused look of someone accustomed to making enormous decisions before committing to anything visible. When the session ended, a member of his delegation approached Eala's management team with a simple, direct message: the prince wanted to meet. In 2025, Saudi Arabia had spent years building a global sports empire with bold, transparent ambition. They had already made major waves in Formula One, boxing, golf, football, and more. Tennis remained the final significant frontier. And here, standing on a Roman practice court with clay dust settling around her shoes, was a 19-year-old from the Philippines. Young, genuinely exceptional, marketable, and representing a nation with one of the most passionate and digitally engaged sports fan bases in Southeast Asia. From a pure strategic standpoint, She wasn't just an interesting prospect. She was an architectural opportunity. The announcement that stopped the tournament, the meeting took place that evening in a small, carefully controlled room with no recording devices. The kind of conversation that operates at a frequency most people only notice years later when the world has quietly shifted. The specific details stayed private by mutual agreement. But what emerged the following afternoon left absolutely nothing to interpretation. During a tournament reception filled with sponsors, officials, select media, and players, the announcement landed. Through a representative speaking in measured, precise English, Prince Abdullah publicly committed $2 million of his personal funds to support Alex Eala's career development, elite training resources, international travel infrastructure, coaching, and a dedicated performance support team. Not through a faceless foundation. Not as a buried corporate sponsorship. A direct, personal, publicly witnessed gesture. The room fell into a silence, so complete it felt physical. For 3 full seconds, nobody moved. Then it exploded. Journalists reached for their phones mid-sentence. Players exchanged complex glances. Genuine happiness for a colleague mixed with that deeply human reflex of quietly calculating what they could have done with the same resources. Tournament officials scrambled for protocol that simply didn't exist for a moment like this. And at the center of the storm stood 19-year-old Alex Eala, composed, gracious, visibly moved but firmly in control. Not frozen, not overwhelmed, not performing. She thanked the prince with real warmth, immediately mentioned the Philippines, and kept returning to one word: responsibility. Journalists who spoke with her in the following days noted how she kept touching that word like an anchor. The world's divided reaction within hours. The story detonated across the internet. Filipino social media lit up with overwhelming celebration, pushing aside domestic trending topics. Athletes from multiple sports sent congratulations, recognizing what this meant for a young woman from an overlooked nation. Pride poured out from Manila to every corner of the diaspora. But the critics arrived just as quickly, and some of their questions deserved real consideration. Was this genuine philanthropic investment in athletic excellence, or a sophisticated piece of soft power strategy designed to generate exactly these headlines? When male athletes accept similar patronage, does the scrutiny look anything like this? The debates grew heated, layered, and genuinely important. And then, because of course he did, Rafael Nadal appeared in the frame. Nadal doesn't exist in the same category as other former champions. He is a living argument about what human dedication can achieve, a daily rebuttal to every excuse ever offered for falling short. When he moves through a space, the room adjusts. When he says nothing, the silence itself becomes an international conversation. Cameras caught him in those seconds after the announcement. A brief pause, eyes moving toward Eala, an unreadable expression. The clip ran millions of times. Some saw quiet pride from a mentor. Others saw hesitation from a man who understood the complications celebration was crowding out. The honest truth is nobody knows. But the fact that 4 seconds of footage could spark so many arguments showed how deeply this story had already captured the world. What it was really about by that point, it was never truly about the $2 million. The money was the headline, but underneath it lay a question the tennis world had been quietly struggling with for years. How do you build genuine global reach when the sports infrastructure still quietly filters out talent from nations without the resources to develop it properly? Alex Eala had already answered part of that question through sheer relentless work.
She showed up anyway. She found a way anyway.
She pushed past invisible barriers most players from her background quietly accept as permanent. Rome didn't resolve the bigger debate. It simply gave it a human face specific enough that nobody could flatten it into a simple argument without losing something important. Because Alex Eala refused to be reduced to a symbol. She remained a real person, with a game plan, a career, a nation watching her, and a word she kept returning to: responsibility. Not just to herself, not just to Filipino tennis, but to the larger question of what happens when extraordinary talent from an overlooked place finally meets the kind of recognition it always deserved. The conversation Rome started is still running, and Alex Eala is still writing her chapter in it, one focused, dignified, determined step at a time. The story is far from over.